Russian fighter jets making what officials are calling a simulated attack near a U.S. battleship yesterday. The United States military released this video of the incident, showing the Russian warplanes coming within 1,000 yards of the USS Donald Cook. Joining me right now is Fox News military analyst General Jack Keane. General, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Glad to be here, Maria.
What's your take on what went on yesterday?
Well, certainly it is what it is. It's certainly a harassment of our warship there in the Baltic Sea. But this friction point and others have been occurring for some time. It's part of a larger strategy, Maria, that Russia has. They really want to break the transatlantic alliance that we have with NATO, with our European allies. They want to weaken it. And this intimidation is really designed for our European allies as much as it is for us. And by that I mean that ship just came out of a Polish port. It was conducting a training mission with Polish helicopters. And next month there's a major training exercise taking place in Poland. So this is primarily designed for the Poles, to demonstrate to them that Russia is strong, powerful, can embarrass and humiliate the United States. And it's part of the overall strategy I believe the Russians have, not only to weaken the alliance between the United States and NATO, but at some point actually try to break that alliance.
So is it also Russia flexing its muscles against the U.S., in some ways taunting the U.S.? I mean, we know that on March 14th, Putin announced he was withdrawing Russian forces from Syria. That was a total surprise. Did not discuss it with President Obama or tell anybody in advance, and it feels like they've been taunting us ever since. Well,
I think, well, your point's well taken. For a number of years now, somewhere around 4, in my judgment, Russia has been very assertive and aggressive with the United States. They believe that we have a very passive policy in responding to them and responding to their ambitions in Eastern Europe and certainly in Syria. I believe they play psychological warfare with our president. I think they have his number, so to speak. And they clearly take advantage of the leadership that they believe the United States has, which is not going to respond, which is weak. And they're going to continue to be very assertive right up until the end of this administration, in my view. It's
pretty extraordinary. President Obama, meanwhile, spoke at CIA headquarters yesterday in Virginia. He was discussing the next steps in the fight against ISIS. The president acknowledged the difficult road ahead, General, but he said that the U.S.-led coalition has made progress against the terrorist groups in recent months. I want to play this soundbite for you to get your reaction.
Today, on the ground in Syria and in Iraq, ISIL is on the defensive. Our 66-member coalition, including Arab partners, is on the offensive. We have momentum, and we intend to keep that momentum.
It's hard to know, General. What are your thoughts on that? Are they on the defensive?
Well, some of that is certainly true, but it's not the whole story. The Kurds have taken back territory in Syria and Iraq that ISIS took from them. And it also demonstrates that ISIS certainly is not 10 foot tall. And the Iraqis themselves, with some assistance from us, has begun to take back the major territory that they lost to ISIS. A long way to go there, probably until next year, to be able to take back Mosul. So, true statement that there has been some progress made in taking back territory. What's not being told is that ISIS has expanded into 9 countries, with 3 more about to be affiliated with them. They have a worldwide following where their terrorists who they've radicalized are killing their fellow citizens in Tunisia, Turkey, in Lebanon, as we well know, in Paris, France, in Brussels, Belgium, and also in San Bernardino, California. And those attacks are actually going to continue. So ISIS, while defending its territory and having lost some territory, it's able to do what I just described with the expansion and radicalizing others in countries. They're able to do that because they maintain a safe haven in Syria, Maria. And as recently as 3 weeks ago, military leaders in testimony before the Senate Armed Services Committee told the senators that we do not have a plan to take down the safe haven that's in Syria, which is actually the center of it, the center of gravity is Raqqa. Yeah. That is an astounding revelation. So that's the part of the story that the president is not telling us.
I see. Let me get your take on this other news. Late last night that we learned, General, ISIS yesterday put out this hit list targeting moderate Muslims, including Hillary Clinton aide Huma Abedin. What do you make of this list that ISIS has released. The latest edition of the terrorist magazine is targeting several prominent Muslims, including U.S. Representative Keith Ellison of Minnesota, some British politicos, and Huma Abedin.
Yep. Well, ISIS are masters at psychological warfare, and they do publish. They're constantly publishing their thoughts, their views, etc. And what this is, ISIS wants to occupy all Muslim lands and will kill Muslim non-believers to do that. And they also are opposed to any Muslims who are supporting Western values, Western ideas, in this case supporting democracy, capitalism. Obviously, Huma Abedin is supporting Clinton as a manifestation that as an American Muslim who is supporting all of that. So it's psychological warfare. It's certainly a veiled threat on the surface of it, but nonetheless, its followers enjoy it because it demonstrates their reach, their psychological reach. It demonstrates also the strength of their ideology and how they're opposing Western values and what Americans and other people in Europe stand for. So that's what's at the bottom of all of that.
So it's just more of the same. Remember a couple of months ago the letter that was sent to Donald Trump with some of our greatest military names, obviously, to talk about his foreign policy and why he needs to listen to the generals. Let me ask you about Donald Trump's comments on waterboarding and what you're hearing on the campaign trail, General.
Well, I don't comment on any candidate's views on policy or issues, Maria, because I want to maintain my independence, and so frankly, I'm not going to be able to deal with that. I'm sorry.
Would there be a situation where the military would not take orders from a potential president if it was against what they believe?
The military will follow any lawful order that's issued by a commander-in-chief, whether they agree with that order or not. Their place is not to choose, whether they agree with policy or not. Their place is to execute it. And certainly they would not follow any unlawful order. I mean, I can say that with certainty.
Right, of course. General, great to have you on the program this morning. Thanks so much for your insights.
Okay, good talking to you, Maria.
Always good to see you, sir.